So, in the history of the podcasts of our podcasts, we've done four of them in the certain sound. I believe it's four. The first one was beauty and attraction, redefining that. The second one was on dating and relationships. Generally, of course, we touched on a whole bunch of different stuff. The third one was on was with the Synchrony Project, and that was just me with the Synchrony Project, which is an apostolic matchmaking organization that has been doing amazing things. Um, and so now we're at this one, and this one is going to be very unique. In that we are going to address breakups. We're going to address heartbreak, and also human nature, and the reason why breakups hurt so much, and why love touches the very basic part of a human being, who we are, and what makes us us. Why does it elicit such strong emotions when we're in the midst of a very painful situation, either having been rejected or having to end a relationship that you didn't think would end so soon or in such a way. So, now, let me throw this your guys' way and kind of give me your theory. Why is love so hard when it comes to romantic relationships? And why does it hurt so much when a breakup happens? Does anyone want to give that a go first?
I'll let
I think it depends on your situation. I think the longer you stay, the more invested you are, the more emotions that are expressed or boundaries that are not kept. If you get past some emotional boundaries, then you become entangled emotionally with your heart. And as a female, we're very imaginative creatures and nurturers by nature. So you start nurturing the possible future that you have with the person prematurely, which I would call an overstep of an emotional boundary. So when you break up, that's why it becomes really difficult, because either you were there for a very long time and you have appropriate emotional boundaries that you crossed appropriately, right? Let's say you've been together for a while, you're exclusive, you guys are official. Well, that comes with some liberties of sharing some things that are a little bit more deeper than if you were just casually dating to see if you're interested in a person. So yeah, that's going to hurt because you have emotional investment in there. You've given emotional currency, and now you can't get that back. You've already paid for the service, and you're having to detach from that. So I think there's a lot of different reasons why, but both healthy and unhealthy. But I think that's one that I could say right off the top of my head.
Okay. So are there certain aspects of heartbreak that are unavoidable? You did nothing wrong, but yet you are hurting, right?
Yeah, I think it's difficult to pinpoint like the moment somebody falls in love.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a conscious decision? I think love is more of a nature,
Mm-hmm.
and we love those who meet our needs. We're drawn to people, and that's love at its most elementary level. A toddler, an infant loves their mother because she takes care of them. Well, that's how all relationships start. I think there's a need that is met, and we feel emotionally lonely. We seek a partner, and there's a person who fills that need. And so it's very difficult to say if we've done anything wrong, because sometimes, like, can you really choose who you fall in love with? And I know there's a greater dimension of love where it does become a choice, but there's scriptures in the Bible that talk about, when he saw her, he loved her.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a difficult question to answer as far as, doing something wrong. Of course, like a breakup, you can be toxic,
Mm-hmm.
and then the relationship ends and you
Yeah.
can look back and say, well, that was my fault.
Yeah.
But you could have been in a relationship, done nothing wrong, and you still feel pain.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Could you have avoided that?
Well, let me reverse back because you addressed what sounded like a scripture. Do you remember where that is? When he saw her, he loved her.
No.
Okay, we need to
Is
look
it?
that up.
I feel like is it Jacob?
I was thinking it was Jacob or Isaac.
Yeah,
Okay.
with Rachel.
Yeah. It could be Jacob. It could be Jacob. Let's confirm it. Before we continue
Yeah.
on. Because the next question after that, and I've never thought about this is a super rabbit hole. Okay, we'll come back to breakups and heartbreaks. Okay, so does that mean that there's a biblical basis for love at first sight? And does that mean you can fall in love at first sight? Right? Because a lot of people think, oh, yeah, that's not love, that's not love, but can you fall in love at first sight? That's a good question.
That's a very good question. And I think of our story,
Right.
but it wasn't love at first sight because
No,
you saw me a
it
lot.
wasn't exactly.
You saw me on campus a lot before you ever
Yeah.
felt that.
It wasn't exactly love
Provoking.
at first sight, but it was definitely
Love
love at I don't know you. Like, I don't know you and I fell in love with you, which is related to love at first sight.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's related to that.
Yes. I don't know if I've ever truly heard a story.
Yeah.
Love at first sight.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know if I've ever heard.
Yeah.
I personally have not heard a story.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I think that's a really hard question to answer. Only people that are in their own situation can, if they can be truly, genuinely honest with themselves, can answer a type of question like that. Because if you've done everything right, you've guarded your heart, you've met where you are in the relationship with the appropriate liberties, right? You've upheld your boundaries, both physically, emotionally. I mean, if it doesn't work out and you still have pain for what you have invested and you're losing, but you've not really done anything incorrect, then, I mean, of course.
Okay, so I'm blending the story together a little
Okay.
bit. And my story was based in a truth. It's when Jacob saw Rachel for the first time.
Okay.
He went to her and he kissed her.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah. And then
So
later.
you cross the boundary.
Yeah. Yeah, kissed her on the mouth. No.
Are you sure it wasn't on the forehead?
No,
maybe on
no.
the
Then
hand.
Jacob kissed Rachel and wept aloud.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that boy was in love.
He told
For
Rachel.
sure.
He told Rachel that he was Rebekah's son, a relative of her father, and she ran and told her father. And when Laban heard the news about his sister's son Jacob, he went out to meet him, and he embraced and kissed him. He's kissing everybody.
I don't care.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
Do we have to
Interesting.
leave this in? Can we-
Yeah, no, we can
Made our faux pas.
disconnect it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
He didn't
there's
love her. He kissed her. So kissed her before he loved her. Whoa, we
Yo,
don't want to
wowzer.
propagate
So there's biblical proof.
to kiss before love. Wow.
Okay, anyways, all right. So
Maybe just pretend you're going off her question again.
yeah, right. So there's much to this that that you cannot avoid. You could have done everything right, and still feel pain. Okay, still feel pain when it comes to a breakup, and I do think it's because of the nature of love. Love is so powerful. I mean, they have done we see it both biblically and then psychological tests that have corroborated the intense nature of how the Bible talks about love. For example, the Bible says, above all things, guard your heart because from it emanates life, right? And love is as strong as death and jealousy as cruel as the grave. And so we see this concept of love it talked about in very powerful ways. Likewise, in psychology, there's some very famous tests that were done in Harvard University where they examined the parts of they wanted to see what was going on in the brain with people who were both in love and had recently either fallen out of love or lost a love member or lost an individual that they loved through death. And so they found that one of the areas that was active very powerfully was the area of the brain that's in charge of feeling physical hunger, not just a craving, not just like something is delicious, like a sweetness, but it was this elemental part of the body that was interpreting love as I am hungry. It's something that I need, and the reverse with people who lost a loved one through breakup or death, they found that a major area of the brain that was going off was the part of the brain that's in charge of feeling physical pain, like in the body, physical bodily pain, which talks to how deeply ingrained love is in the very nature of who we are.
Yes.
And I think that speaks to the fact that, for one, if you do not know love, you do not know God, because God is love.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we were made in the likeness and image of God, there is something about love that is a basic part of who we are as human beings.
Yeah. And that's really interesting that you say that. It just reminded me of something I just read in a book that I've been reading about motherhood and being present as a mother in the first 3 years and how important it is. The baby actually mourns when a mom leaves them.
Interesting.
Yeah. And this therapist, or I don't know who wrote the book, one of my friends bought it for me, but that rocked my world. Like, even for a short amount of time, like let's say an hour, the baby feels mourning. So when you say that they feel that physical pain, that's even at the most infant level. Like it happens even then.
Right.
You mourn. They're hurt that their mom is separated from them.
Right.
Even though she's not really separated from them.
Yeah.
She's going to the store or doing whatever.
Right.
So.
It's something common, which is a natural part of course, infant developmental process, is to realize that just because I don't see my mom doesn't mean that my mom doesn't care for me or is not coming back for me.
Yeah.
And that dynamic is just as important, that my mother is left, but my mother is coming back.
Yeah.
And that is all part of a enduring attachment, but it does not erase the fact that it is ingrained in us as human beings from that point in time. Right? Which is why when people experience exceptionally bad breakups, sometimes they look like babies and they act like babies. The weeping, the heaving, the crying, the disappointment, the hopelessness, to feel, will I ever find anyone? Will there ever be anyone? I thought this was going to be the one.
Right.
Well,
Why wasn't I good enough?
Yeah,
Why
or even
wasn't
the
I good
unhealthy
enough?
attachment that they try to keep going back or try to keep it
Exactly.
alive or and they get into that cyclical behavior.
It seems so like instinctual though when you're 16, 17 years old. Like, this person brings fulfillment. I need this at all costs. I cannot live without them.
Right.
It
Yeah.
feels like a survival instinct is kicking in. And so this seems to be like a lot of your doctoral work.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you, what is going on in the mind of an 18-year-old, maybe like psychologically and then practically how they can process it, when they are a freshman in college and they're, let's bring it to our present context. They're a freshman in college and first semester they pick up a quasi relationship and it starts to get serious, but then the powers that be, freshmen aren't supposed to date here at CLC.
Yeah.
And
Or a parent or a pastor comes and says no.
and the relationship has to end.
Yeah.
And they can feel that physical mourning for someone they haven't even engaged with physically.
Right.
But they can actually feel like a part of them is dying.
Yeah.
Because I counsel a lot of these students.
Yeah.
And, I had someone come to me recently and text me like, Brother Ellis, I need to meet with you.
Yeah.
This is an emergency.
Wow.
And when I hear emergency, like my ears perk up. I'm here for emergencies. I was in the middle of doing something. I dropped what I had to do. And it was a student coming to me about a breakup issue.
Right.
And to them, that quantified as an emergency.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, as adults who have been past, who have crossed that valley, okay, of rejection, of heartbreak perhaps, it is easy for us to forget the kind of pain that is experienced by individuals who are experiencing that still. Thank God I'm out of that season. Lord, thank you.
We have to have empathy.
You have to have empathy, and we cannot forget, right, that this...
It hurts.
It hurts so bad. I get it. I understand.
Someone is crying listening to this right
know.
now.
And you know what?
We're here
it.
for you, okay?
Yeah.
And it
would
tests
be
your
easy.
worth. It tests your confidence, your worth, how you see your self-value.
Yes.
It literally shakes and tests everything about you.
You don't feel like you are a suitable mate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I am not a qualified person that someone would want to be with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And these kinds of things, they touch memories. What this is what they do. No memory, no experience in the present stands alone. It is always compared to past events in your life that might reflect something similar. So, the difference is that the initiating event is this heartbreak, is this feeling of mourning, and it almost lights up these chain of memories that can be patterned similarly. Maybe you can go back to when you were 12 years old and you had a first crush, right? And that crush didn't want anything to do with you. Maybe you were younger than that. I remember my first crush. I was in, what was it, like third grade, fourth grade? We're young when we develop these kinds of things,
Very young.
and very young. And from that tender age,
I think it was in
we
kindergarten.
can have, yeah, we can have all kinds of these experiences that tell us something, something that at one point was only a suspicion. Am I good enough to be wanted? And it happens at 10 years old. A friend that didn't invite you to their birthday party. Am I good enough to be wanted? The crush that didn't want anything to do with you. Am I good enough to be wanted? Then you're encountering these things in your life when you finally get to this intense present experience of, I have to break up. This thing is not going to go forward. This person rejected me. It is this powerful emotion that then confirms all of the questions of your past in some kind of emotional way. I'm not wanted.
Okay.
Nobody wants me. I will not find anyone. The hurt that comes from that ends up touching very elemental states of childhood.
I love it.
Right.
And I want you to keep going.
Okay.
And so, but I want to give like a follow-up question because you know what this is? This is a can of worms.
Right. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Opening it.
We have
Okay.
to. We have to.
How does one distinguish? Because I hear everything you're saying and believe it. How does one distinguish when they are rejected or they're broken up with, to distinguish between worth, fundamental worth, and having qualities and traits that are not desirable by the opposite sex? Like something as simple as, how can you take a breakup
Okay.
in a healthy way?
Right.
Like, you don't brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Girls don't like that.
Right.
You don't put on deodorant.
Yeah.
You are rude.
Yeah.
You don't treat your mother well.
Yeah.
So how do we
Yeah.
how do we draw that line, that perfect line between I'm still valuable and worth it as a human being, and I have value as
Right.
created in the image of God,
But there are
And-
still areas.
But I can improve.
but I'm
myself.
rude and I'm selfish,
Right.
and the reason I
Yeah.
haven't found a mate is because of things that are in my control,
Yes.
Yes.
not necessarily out of my control.
Yeah.
And to reflect on those things, I told you it was a can of worms.
Right.
Reflect, because nobody wants to think there's anything wrong with them,
Right.
you know? And it's not necessarily that you're not worth it as a human being.
Yeah.
How can I take this in a constructive manner
Right.
where her parents didn't like me? Well, why?
Yeah. Right.
Is there, rather than hating them,
Right.
is there something about
Yeah.
me? Is there an aura that I give off?
Yeah.
And being self-reflective and trying to better oneself,
Yeah.
rather than, you can allow this to go all the way to the far extreme, and I've seen it so many times where people
Yes.
actually backslide
Yes.
from a breakup because they actually lose their entire like essence of self-worth,
Identity.
and there's no drive, there's no like, I believe in God, but what's the worth?
Yeah.
What's the use in trying?
It's just, I want to pin these two motivations for backsliding. Yes, at one point they lose their, in many occasions they lose their sense of self-worth, but in others it's simply pain management. The quickest amount of pain, the quickest pain management that they feel like they need for the moment is not found in prayer. It's not found in their relationship with God. For them, in their flesh, they need something
You
quicker.
have to deal with your pain in prayer.
And that takes energy and time.
Mm-hmm.
While going out to party or
Or
you know,
talking to another girl,
talking
aka
to another girl, a
rebounds.
rebound is the quickest form. They need something more
Validation.
immediate.
So let
right?
me define what I believe is a rebound, and then we can continue in because I think this is very important because people say, well, that's just a rebound. Why is a rebound unhealthy? Because a rebound isn't necessarily moving on from a relationship quickly, because sometimes people emotionally move on in a relationship,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
and they might have been moved on. You see it with older couples, like old 70s, 80s, where one of the spouses is a shut-in for maybe 2 and 3 years,
Right.
and then you see the spouse that's in better health get married 3 months after.
Yeah.
Well, it's because they've emotionally moved on for years, even
Right.
though they love that person, but that person has been meeting their needs for years. That's not necessarily a rebound. A rebound is when you take the feelings you had for one person
Right.
and you miss the engagement you had at that level and you superimpose that onto another person.
Yes.
So it took you 5 years to go from a 1 to a 6 emotionally, and you like being at a 6.
Right.
So you just find somebody else and smack a 6 on them right away.
Right.
That's a rebound, and you didn't build the necessary
Naturally.
organic
Yeah.
steps to get there.
Right.
And so that's why a rebound is unhealthy, because you're living a fantasy with that person.
Right.
You're imagining that person is another person.
Yeah.
That's unhealthy.
So
I think there's also another form of a rebound that is even more unhealthy, and that's that you are looking to self-gratify yourself because you feel rejected, you
Yeah.
feel all of your identity is being shaking, and instead of taking the proper steps to actually analyze what happened, mourn, take your time, go through all the process that you need to go through.
Yep.
You want to be gratified.
Yep.
Right? You want attention. You want to make the other person even feel bad. You want them to see you that you've moved on and you're going and you're fine and they were really not that important to you. There's a very, very there's a big spectrum of rebounding, but at least in the world, because I always went to church, but when I was not as dedicated or didn't know really or have a relationship with God, I saw all my friends rebounding all the time. And it was very unhealthy. We weren't knowledgeable enough to know, like, okay, we've built to a 6 and now I just want to impose that on you because I want you to be him or her. No, we were way more immature than that. It's like, no, I want you to see that I'm fine.
Right.
I'm fine, and I'm going to show you I'm fine.
Right.
It's very selfish motives.
That's right.
And you're using another person to gratify yourself, to make yourself feel better, and to show others that they're not that worth it,
Yep.
and it's okay.
Yep. And now reversing back so that we can enter into that subject in itself and provide some solutions, going back to what Brother Ellis suggested. How do you know that line between what really is a stable self-worth, I am valuable for this and this reason, and that's not changing, and also what areas should I improve on? What areas can and should I improve on? That, in my opinion, because of how potent these emotions are within romantic relationships, should only be addressed through God in prayer. That is why your relationship with God is pivotal. It is the most important thing that you need to run to God as soon as you break up, as soon as you feel that mourning, that sorrow come upon you. You need to run to God, because only with his help can he help you carry the weight of those emotions and then appropriately organize them so that you can see clearly and say, what part of this was in my control, or what part of this will reveal areas that I can improve on.
Yeah,
right?
and you know what? I meet with a lot of students like Pastor Ellis does as well. I think it's a practice that you have to do before you're even in a relationship.
Absolutely.
With yourself.
Yes.
With the Lord.
Yep.
It's going to be much harder to have a clear vision or see through a clear glass
That's
in
it.
this situation
Right.
when you're romantically involved with
That's
someone and it's compounding on a lot of things.
Yeah.
It's bringing a whole nother person into it.
Yeah.
This is a skill that you should be practicing for your own life and trauma from your past and even your family culture
That's right.
before even entering. Now, it's not
That's
a
it.
precursor. You should do this before, during, and after.
That's it.
And then in your next relationship,
Yeah.
before, during. It is a continual process that builds your identity, your value, your worth.
Yep.
And then when you get older, you can be in a relationship and say, you know, like I've had experiences, right, where things were questioned. Like someone felt that I wasn't what they expected, or wasn't enough, or wasn't what they thought they would end up with. And it did not rock my self-worth, because I had walked with the Lord for several years, and that was torn down by past relationships. So in healing that,
Yeah.
I can hear that and say, oh, I'm perfectly made. Like, if it's not enough for you, it will be 100,000% enough for somebody else. So
Yep.
we can move on. And it didn't shake me. Does it sting to hear? Sure, because you're a
Yeah.
human being.
Right.
But does it rock your identity or worth or how you feel about yourself? No. You
Yeah,
know, you get to this healthy place where you know who you are, you know your worth, no matter what you look like or whatever.
I think it's very important. I think what you're saying is vital, because a lot of times in breakups and relationships, the sentiment that you hear is, "I'll never get somebody as good as them."
Mm.
Like, if they don't want me, anything else will be a downgrade. Well, that's flattering for the person, but that's probably more reflective on low self-worth.
Yes.
And so I felt lucky to get you. And why did I feel lucky to get you? Because I think so lowly of myself. So you're caught in that moment of, they're the best I'm ever going to get. And I get it. Like, that's flattering. That's wonderful that you think that highly of that person.
Yeah.
But it's probably less about how awesome you think that person is. It's more so compared to how lame you think you are.
Yeah. And isn't it so crazy that in most cases, I won't say all, but in many cases, I'll say, the person that you're feeling that towards is treating you like garbage. They're rude, or they don't value your time or value your person. They've probably crossed boundaries with you, which means they don't respect your body or your honor. And yet you think like, nobody will ever love me like this person does.
Yeah.
And it's like,
And that happens a lot.
a lot.
Right. Let me state some rules, just to go on a small rabbit hole here. If you ever find yourself in a place where you feel that sense of, I could never have anybody as good as that person, you know, and you feel so bad and you feel so sad, you know, I understand the amount of pain that you are feeling at this moment, but never pick up the phone and text your ex. Never. Do not text them and say, I'm going through a hard time. I need somebody right now. I know you don't want to be with me, but can you answer my phone call? Do not text your ex. You know, don't reach out to them. They are not your God. They're not your Lord. And they're not responsible for helping you through this breakup.
Right.
Just because you guys were in a relationship, you guys were dating, just because you guys did whatever you did when you were in your relationship, doesn't mean they owe you anything,
There's
right?
a lot of ears
And
perked up.
that's very important, especially for women who have a nurturing heart, and they feel maybe guilty about making a man feel so painful. Either that, or they like the idea of being needed. And so they have
It
no
could be
interest.
subconscious,
It could be
too.
subconscious. They don't
Yeah.
even know they're doing this. So maybe you
I
can
think most
tune in
of
more,
this
Yeah.
stuff
you know?
is subconscious. I don't think
Yeah.
a lot,
Absolutely.
even like my comments earlier about a
Right.
rebound, I don't think
Yeah.
it's calculated. I
No,
think
no,
it's
no.
instinctual.
Yeah.
And so, but let me play devil's advocate. Brother Brego, I just need closure.
Yeah. Right. Oh my goodness. Closure.
Talk to me about closure, because I see a lot of mess
Yeah.
under the banner of closure.
Yes. Yes.
You're supposed to be
Yeah.
closing it.
Yeah,
Not
close
opening
it.
it.
Not
Close
ripping
once
it
and
open.
Don't open it again. No, closure. These things. I just need closure.
Need 4
I just need closure.
sessions.
Yeah, it's
5 hours
unnecessary.
of closure.
Unnecessary. Should not happen. Really, what people are saying when they reach out and they say, I need closure, usually is, I hope there's a second chance somewhere in here, secretly in their hearts and in their minds. Either that's the case, or they are hoping to find some kind of healing that really should only be found in God.
Now there's a lot of nuance in this, and so
Yes.
let me bounce it back, because sometimes relationships end abruptly, and it's hey, I just don't think we should talk anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
right.
I was going to say that too. Like, you know, I've counseled young women,
Yeah.
and if you're treated rudely or you're given a text, I think it's fine. But now I tell them, what is the purpose of wanting to meet?
But I think,
you know?
I think the underlying is always there in a
Yeah.
majority of scenarios.
For sure.
Part of this closure is
Yeah.
if I can find out why you don't like me, I can rectify it.
Yes. So let me clarify something.
Because if it's over,
I
it's
wasn't
over.
that
It's
clear.
over. Yeah.
I do think it is very adult and it's very mature to have one well thought out and well discussed closure conversation.
Yes.
I do think that should be
And
normal.
I think it's appropriate if that's
Yes.
not given
right.
at the time of breakup
Yeah.
to come back and
And
request
say,
that.
Wait a second here.
Yes.
Because it's all the
Let's
what
talk.
ifs. It's all the what
Yes.
ifs.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, when you're trying to come back again and again and again,
Yeah.
that is when you're
No.
in a closure cycle here, and all you're doing is reigniting emotions that you should be
One
occupying
max.
yourself.
One max.
That's it.
One after if it's an initial shock and he's across from you or she's across from you and you're just like stunned and don't know what to say and you guys walk away
Right.
and you want a full dialogue, you've composed yourself and now you're going to reach out for a full dialogue. That's
Right.
your one.
Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it.
Okay, so give me the PhD level doctoral answer behind how long should I take before I give them their stuff back?
Oh, burn it all. No,
wow.
burn it all at the start. Just kidding.
Like how like obviously there's no day amount, but
Yeah.
maybe walk us through a little bit of the psychology behind someone should it be a week? Should it be a month? Because there's a more
That's too hard. That's
there's
too
a mourning
difficult.
process.
I don't even
Yeah.
behind
think
a breakup.
See, and this is just my thought. You can give your PhD level
No,
response
you
after
guys
this.
are thinking way too highly of my PhD.
But
and I'm not
For
that
me,
smart.
I don't. If like once you've had that dialogue, if you still have stuff after that dialogue,
Yeah.
it's yours. It's yours. It's not his anymore. It's not hers anymore. It's yours, and you can throw it away. You can burn
do you
it.
delete their
you
number?
Can delete their number. Block it. Like I think it's a form of. I just need closure, so I'm going to give you your stuff back.
Right.
But
It's
we're
just
but we're gonna
attachments,
but
you
we're
know?
gonna remain friends.
Yeah. No, there's no such thing as
No.
friends
I'm having too much-
afterwards.
I'm having too
There's
much
no
fun.
such
No.
thing as friends.
Because
No.
y'all are saving me a lot of office time.
No.
Yeah.
Because
no
from
such
now
thing.
on,
And-
I'm gonna send them the link.
No.
Yes, and young ladies will tell you if they've met with me, I tell them you weigh your cost before you get engaged in this ship or relationship. The friend is gone.
Yep.
Like once you cross these boundaries of commitment and emotional investment, you can't get the time of innocence back.
No.
Like, unfortunately, you
Yeah.
know, you
Yeah.
can be cool with the person, you can be kind, you can be Christian, but it's just not.
Yeah.
I just don't see it possible.
Yeah. That's
There is a
Well, it
level where
is-
you can.
It is
but you once you
possible.
yeah.
It just doesn't happen
No.
often.
no.
And I
It-
think there's a level. Like if you go on one date
Right.
and it doesn't work out, of course you can be
you
friends.
can be friends and
you know?
acquaintances. That's
Yeah.
fine. But
if
once
you've been in a
crossed those,
relationship-
boundaries, it is. If it's not you, it will be the other person who is going to have those feelings still. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it's responsible to maintain friendship after a romantic relationship has ended with that individual. And-
That's a hot take. I'm telling you right now. That's gonna flare up. man.
Yeah, and you know what? But I'll say this. Okay, so let's say you get married. Are you still gonna? And it's not that person. Are you still gonna remain friends with that old ex?
Yeah,
like that?
I don't know if this.
Are
is
you
pro-
gonna hang out with them?
I
Are
don't
you
know
going
if this
to?
is productive,
You know
but
what I
I
mean?
have seen that.
No, I just don't think it's healthy.
I've seen. I was recently at.
That makes you cringe.
I was
That's-
recently at a
Yeah.
wedding. I was recently at a wedding where the parents are divorced, and they work so they're like friends, and they
Yeah.
do holidays, they vacation together.
the parents.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
okay,
odd.
wait.
Well,
I know
I
this
don't
isn't.
listen, my mom and dad are divorced,
Right.
and my dad comes around to our holidays.
Yes,
But my mom, like, for the sake of the children.
yes,
So that's like a whole different, like, ballpark, I feel.
yes.
That's
but
a whole different arena.
yeah.
It's
And
interesting.
Yeah.
When I got married, my relationships changed, and I have some really good friends that are girls, really good friends. To this day, I would call them my friends.
Yeah.
I would say they were at that point in time some of my best friends.
Right.
But I am not looking to talk to them.
Of course.
I'm not looking to
Of course.
call them, text them. Hey, how are you doing?
course.
That's
Right.
not happening
Yeah.
because I'm married.
Yeah.
And why? Because I'm supposed to be married. That is my destination, right? And because of that, because of that, the nature of that, I go back to this single adult or these young adult relationships and say, why do you really want that that friendship with an ex? Why do you really want it? There is really no need for it. You're not going to carry that into your marriage. You're not going to carry it into when you progress into your next relationship that is a lifelong relationship and you marry someone else. So why do you really want that
I feel it's
friendship?
already hard to maintain. Like exes is like over here. It's already hard to integrate your opposite sex friends into your marriage culture now.
Yeah.
You know, Josh and I had to do this. I'm sure you and Johanna had to do this. All my male friends had to make an extension and build a relationship with Josh if they wanted to stay connected to my life. And all of them, I will say, have a stronger connection and reach out to Josh far more. Like, I mean, I'd say 99% of the time to Josh, and I never
Yeah.
even hear about it.
Right.
Same, I mean, with his female friends, I didn't know them. They were all out of pretty much Bible college by the time I got here, so it's not really the same.
Right.
But for my male friends that he's adopted as his own friends and they've built their own friendship on, I talk to their spouses. And now I'm
Yes.
friends with their spouses.
Yes.
So it's already a huge thing, and you have to consciously decide that that's what you want to do
Yep.
when you're getting into marriage and you're bringing in friendships. So adding exes to that is like a
Yeah.
whole like
Yeah.
I don't like Josh said, I don't see it appropriate. I don't
Right.
see why it would be.
Yeah.
And I have some really great friends, like, or I have some people in my life that, you know, are quality people is what I'm trying to say,
Yeah.
that I may have dated or may have been really close to and crossed emotional boundaries with, that I would never ever want to bring back into my life, because why would I want to like I said, it's emotional currency.
Yes.
I've paid somebody out, they hold this. I couldn't give that to my husband because they hold it, so I'm going to keep them in my life while my husband holds all my emotional currency now.
Yeah.
Like, it's just odd. It's
Yeah.
odd and strange.
As a general rule, I would say that shouldn't happen. Are there exceptions? Okay,
Sure.
I'm not going to say that there aren't, and there aren't any ways to practice those exceptions in a healthy way. But they're so far and few between.
Oh yeah, I know, I
that
agree.
it
But
should
we're
not
assuming
be.
on these that there's a remarriage that's taking place. I think from the examples you guys gave, it's I can't go back to the person because I'm remarried. In both of these scenarios, people aren't remarried,
Okay.
so they're
Oh.
divorced,
Yeah.
but they're
Oh,
best friends and they're not remarried to new people.
Oh, that's interesting.
that's very
Wow.
interesting.
I haven't heard of that specific scenario.
You know,
but-
I've heard it
you know what I
twice.
mean?
I've heard it twice. Danny
Wow.
Hood preaches his parents divorced, got married to other people. Danny Hood prays all of his parents, his step parents, through the Holy Ghost. Step parents die. Parents move next door to each other
That's hilarious.
and are best friends,
That's
but they're not
hilarious.
remarried.
That's so fun.
interesting.
I
Wow.
mean, you know, and that's another thing. That's
Isn't
an
that weird?
unexpected work of the Holy Ghost, right? Because in this situation with my mom,
Yeah.
my parents are divorced.
Yeah.
My mom, I feel like it's the love of Christ.
Your
It's
mom's
not
a
that
queen.
she's like chasing after my dad or like
Yeah.
they're besties.
Mom's a
Right.
queen.
She's
No.
amazing. And it's the love
Yeah.
of Christ and the mercy of Christ that I want the best for my children. Hey, and she reminds us, like the other day was my dad's birthday, and she texts us in the siblings thread, like, hey, make sure you call your dad. It's not because she cares so much about my dad's feelings. It's that she wants to raise her kids right. She wants them to have a biblical relationship with
Right.
their father,
Okay.
you know? So it's
Well,
like the work of the Holy Ghost is a
know-
whole nother
I
deal.
think this is a beautiful testimony. I don't know if you feel at liberty to share. I know Jaime is very open about his testimony.
Mhm.
He preaches to the kids all the time.
Yeah.
My kids come over and tell me about the testimony. You know?
Yeah.
Would you be able to share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So just like how my mom has.
I more so like want to highlight the healing element of a broken relationship through the love of Christ.
Yeah.
Because the healing that your mom found went beyond like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
It went further into like, I'm going to make sure everything in my, like everything that relationship touched is okay.
Yeah. So basically, in our family, there's 3 siblings, my 2 older brothers and myself. And once I was born, I was about 4 years old. My brother got diagnosed with terminal cancer, with brain tumor. And so for my dad, who's very machista Mexican, emotions are not easily processed. So his way to avoid that was to kind of just not touch it, not be there to help, but cope with himself. And so in that coping, he stepped out of the marriage, and eventually that relationship led to Jaime being born. And so when that happened, I think my mom went through a lot of grieving. She lost her son eventually, right, during that time. And she had me, which was still very dependent. She had a teenager, 18 years old, my older brother. And so there was a lot going on. So absolutely her strength was in the Lord. Solely in the Lord. I mean, she'll tell it, and she's very open with her testimony. She had nervous breakdowns. I mean, the whole thing, what you would expect, crying in the shower type thing. Why am I even alive? My 18-year-old can take care of my 4-year-old. All these things that you have to process for grief and loss. And so in that process of healing, one time I think he was like 2 or so. My mom just fell in love with him so much. And again, it's that Holy Ghost, unexplainable love of Jesus Christ that just overcomes all your understanding as a human being and your nature as a human being. And she saw him with compassion because he had 2 parents that were a little off, one being my dad and one being his mom. And of course, my dad's family is incredible when it comes to supporting the kids and being there for the kids. So Jaime had them, but my mom wanted me for sure to have a relationship with my little brother. So she would have him come over the house, and we would take care of him like that was her son. We would give him little baths. We would play outside. We'd go to the store, buy him things. And so it was really just a demonstration of the true work of the Holy Ghost and the healing power of the Lord. And to this date, when he was little, and I don't know if he tells people this, but a new fact in the story, when he was little, she was so involved in his life. He would call her mama, which is Spanish, mama Mimi, because Mimi is her nickname. Everybody in our family calls her Mimi. So he would call her mama Mimi. So that was like his mom. So from that small to now he introduces her as his mom.
He talks about her as his mom.
Yeah.
Well, and to contextualize the conversation, because again, we've all fielded young people that are going through a breakup, and the feeling is, I'm never going to get over this.
Right.
I will never. I've heard this more times than it can count. I will carry this the rest of my life. And it feels real.
Yes.
But your mom's testimony, I mean, it could be applied to so many different areas. But she went from feeling the heartbreak of an adulterous relationship to then raising the product and loving the product. Yeah. That's how deep healing can go.
Yeah. I mean, a real mom. She gets mad at him for his collars being dirty. A real mom, the grass is in his house is drying out, and she's like, I'm going to go over there and water it myself. Like a real mom. It's crazy.
And the product of that love, the product of that healing is the fact that now Jaime is our children's pastor here at Christian Life Center.
Yes.
The fruit of that healing allowed
me to have a relationship with my brother, right?
That's it.
And I never go around saying, "Oh yeah, it's my half brother." That's weird to me to say he's my half brother is so foreign, So
you would
because
have to tell us that, and especially because you have the same dad, same last name.
Yeah,
I did not know this until after I knew you guys for years.
Yeah, and that's the fruit, like you're saying, right, of my mom being able to have that healing and be a blessing to that situation.
Yeah. To bring this back to the conversation, that is why you can hope for your future. You don't have to fall in the depth of hopeless despair to think that there is no future for you and there is no healing. There is healing. It only feels that way at the moment because there is a part of you that is dying. And I believe them when they say, it feels like I'm dying. It feels like I'm mourning a death.
I just can't breathe.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you're experiencing all of those things. I get it. I myself have felt those feelings of disappointment before as well. But there's something powerful when you go to God, when you bring those vulnerabilities to God. God ends up peeling you back like an onion and taking you through levels of healing where you end up coming out so much stronger. And so much better.
So it's not about getting back to neutrality. It's about taking this and being able to grow from it.
That's right.
Because love has an ability, and we talk about trauma, we talk about, deep matters of the soul. Love has an ability to reach more deeply into your emotional state than normal relationships
That's
do.
right.
Yes.
So it's not that these relationships cause you to do things you wouldn't otherwise do. It just shows you what's really there.
Oh, yes.
Right.
And this is why we kind of date in general, because the more you fall in love with somebody, and we court, right? This is why we don't just get married on first sight, like maybe they do in other cultures who have the structure to nurture that. But in America, we don't. We're very emotionally driven. Is because the more you fall in love with somebody, the more the real person starts to show.
Yes.
That's right.
Because we have 2 or 3 layers of callus, and we have our rehearsed lines. We have anybody can make a good first impression, all that.
Right.
And then you start to meet somebody. It's not that person causes you to do things. It's that they bring out what's really there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so sometimes a breakup can be a blessing
Yes.
because you didn't know that was there. And
Right.
now that you do know that you are selfish, you
Yeah.
are deceptive, you
Yeah.
have trust issues, you can deal with those now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you can use the breakup as fuel
Yep.
to become a stronger and better Christian.
It's totally possible, and God can help you in that journey.
And now I want to pose a question for you guys, because I do get this question and I field it the best I can, but I want to see what you guys would say. I would give that answer to a young person that's going through a breakup, right? Or whatever, contemplating something. And often they ask me, whatever they're going through, I tell them, you have to sit before the Lord and let him sift your mind out. Like, you have to be honest with yourself is what I tell them. And this is my answer too. How do you know if, there's the self-worth and there's all that aspect, but then where is the improvement? Like, how can I actually find improvement in this? So how do they do that? How do they go into the presence of God and find out those things, that they're selfish, that they were selfish in the relationship, that they were, deceiving?
Well, there's a safety in a multitude of counselors. You need to surround some of my best friendships. I value them not because I simply have the most fun with them. A lot of times friendships, and this is like a podcast for another day, we base friendships in America on the person that entertains us the most. They get me, right? We have the same humor. Well, that's fine, but a best friend should be someone that is willing to make you feel uncomfortable. And so I have friends in my life that I can go to, and without hesitation, and they're not overly critical of me.
Right.
They have no problem saying, no, you don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Or, no, I see that.
Yeah.
I see that you do that. I think they're a little right.
Yeah.
Okay. And I have to be mature enough to say, okay, because we all have blind spots, right?
Absolutely.
It's this Johari's window. Have you heard of Johari's window?
No.
It's this psychological framework and how one can view themselves, right? Like, he has 4 windows, and the first window is the everything window, where it's things that can be seen about me through observation. Like, the color of my hair, my height, the tone of my voice, all via observation. Well, then there's other things about me you can't know unless I tell you. If they're things I only know about myself. So, you don't know what my favorite something is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what I feel on the inside. I have to tell you that. So there's some things that only I know. But then there's another window, to give an example, long before cameras, and let's think of the ancient world, before mirrors were even a thing. I would not know what the back of my head looked like. I had no possible way to quantify what does this look like. It's the proverbial when you record your voice. Do I really sound that way?
Yeah.
Because it sounds different to you.
Right.
You're actually the only person that doesn't know what your voice really sounds like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else in the room
Right.
knows. You're the only person that doesn't know. And so there's another box of things everybody knows and I don't know. They're called blind spots. We all have blind spots. And then the last window is the things that only God can know about us. This is when David, says, search me and try me if there be any wicked way in me.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole 139th Psalm is about David's articulating, God, you know everything about me. You know my down setting, my uprising. You understand my thoughts afar off. It's actually a prayer of repentance, Psalm 139, because God, you know every little minute detail. So now search me.
Yeah.
Show me if there's anything in there.
Yeah.
Because I can't see it. My friends can't see it. My family can't see it.
Right.
Are there any fundamental flaws or anyways? And so, accessing that, first of all, just have people do I give off rude vibes?
Yeah. Right.
Or maybe even just going up to them and asking them, like your people, right? Your circle. Hey, did I not handle this well? Like,
Right.
did you see, like, what did I not do well?
You'll never
here?
grow in an echo chamber.
Yeah.
You'll never grow in an
Yeah.
echo chamber.
Yeah.
If you don't have any friends and whom you disagree with, find a few more friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not talking about fundamental ideology. I mean, like, if everyone around you just approves and agrees with everything you do,
Yeah.
Mhm.
either you're Jesus Christ or your friends are not being honest, because we all have flaws.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful to have people that say in a loving manner, hey, you could work on that.
Yeah.
Mentors in your life,
Yeah.
even beyond friends, just
Yeah.
having people in your life that
Yeah.
love you enough
Yeah.
to say, you know what, you do have a work ethic
Yeah.
issue.
Or maybe even siblings, right? Because
Oh, they tell you.
definitely siblings. Like,
Yeah.
my older brother helped me with that. I help Jaime with that. So if you have a close relationship like that with a sibling that you trust and admire and love, siblings.
Because a broken up partner is going to tell you the worst.
Yeah.
So you need to filter through that, how
Yes.
much of it is emotionally charged,
Yeah.
and like, I want to hurt you, right? I deal when I did marriage counseling a lot, like, there's this fight or flight response in the moment that you hurt me. I want to hurt you back, even if I don't mean what I'm saying. Like, nobody likes you, like, none of your friends even really like you. Well, I'm not saying that because I believe it. I'm saying it because I want to hurt you.
Yeah.
Right.
So
I'm
you have to
upset.
be able to filter from that stuff and say that wasn't true. And you have got to be able to look in the mirror. And this is the hardest thing for people to do, because this is the stuff that parents do to their children, and that sticks you for the rest of your life, where
Mhm.
you have to look in the mirror and say, that wasn't true.
Yeah.
That was not true.
Right.
And then be able to sift, well, this is true. I am selfish,
Yeah.
and I'm controlling. That's a big one,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I'm needy. I'm controlling.
Yeah.
I have trust issues.
Right.
Checking the life 360 every
Yeah.
5 minutes. Like,
Right.
Right.
that's
Yep.
it's not good behavior. As long as you recognize that, that's cool,
Yeah.
because you can work on it.
Yeah.
The issue is if you don't recognize it
Yes.
and you think there's going to be someone that's okay with it, maybe there will be, but for the most part, it's going to be a cycle that repeats itself.
Yeah.
Let me give an example of, and if you guys have some, that would be cool, because it gives people real, like, boots on the ground examples of bettering yourself. Let me give you an example of a way that I bettered myself. Not necessarily through a breakup, but just through my relationship with friends that are girls in general. Okay. I had to accept the fact that women don't want to talk about theology and ministry all of the time. Okay.
Really?
They don't, right? To me, that was a revelation, because that was my life. I love it. And you guys know that I do. That's me. Like,
I love it.
let's leave the weather aside. Let's talk about some deep theological stuff here, okay? And I just enjoy it. I enjoy it, and I had to realize, I think it's part of the way that God has built women as well, okay? Women, by nature, God has given them the gift of being the more the scripture describes it as the weaker vessel, but it's not weaker in the sense that they're less valuable. It's in the sense that they experience the world in a more sensitive way,
More fragile way.
Than men. And because of that, at the end of the day, when they have worked all day and dealt with other people's problems and other people's situations, sometimes they just want to have a relaxing time. Sometimes they just want to curl up in bed with a blanket, with some ice cream, and chill with low stakes subjects, okay? Because the chatter that happens in the mind and emotions of a woman is different than what occurs with a man. A man, by and large, just in general, many times we categorize things, and almost like we put our problems on the bookshelf to save them for later, so that our emotional system is not burdened by those things, so that we can do what interests us.
Yeah.
What is interesting for me
Yeah.
is the Word of God. So all of these problems that's going on with my family, that's going on with the church, that's going on with ministry, I'm going to set those aside because this is what I enjoy. But a woman carries those in their they carry that in their spirit in a way that is impactful to them, and sometimes they just want to unplug. So I had to realize, okay, I cannot come guns blazing, man of God style, sharing all the revelations that you know what I mean? I had to change.
And there's different tones of spirituality, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Like there's a frame of like the deep academic theological discourse,
Yeah.
and the Sanhedrin, and
Yeah.
and getting in among the councilmen and discussing
Yeah.
the building blocks of theology, the exegetical building blocks of theology. But there's a more simple like form of spirituality that's expressed, like the Bible says that creation declares the glory of God. It says in a place that that creation praises the Lord. The trees lift up their palms to the Lord.
Yeah.
And when creation does what it's designed to do, it's a form of praise to God. And so when women get together and talk about their babies and how to raise their babies and, keeping the home or whatever they would be passionate about, well, that's things that the Lord put in them.
Yes.
And it's a form of spirituality. And now, like from our Bible college perspective, that's what drives us.
Yeah.
But it's not the only channel of communication that's spiritual.
Yeah.
It's a selective channel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And sometimes it's like, it'd be a really good book to write. Like, there's the 5 love languages, it could be the 5 channels of spiritual communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would even say that sometimes that sphere, that realm that you guys operate in, right, that we're talking about, that academic theological realm, is not spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
true.
it's very
You're right.
prideful and arrogant, and
Yeah.
it's like, who knows
Debating.
more?
Yeah.
Oh,
Debating.
God.
That's
Who
right.
knows more
You like the idea of having one.
of knowledge?
Yeah. That's you're right. You're right. It
You
can be
know.
prideful. Not everything that just because you're talking about the Bible doesn't mean it's godly.
Right. Yeah.
Do you guys have any examples that you've experienced where you have grown from either a disappointment or from your interactions with the opposite sex or anything like that? Or,
I mean, I think I've shared it here already before, but I remember kind of what Pastor Morgan was saying. Only in a relationship do certain things come up.
Yeah.
I had been single for quite some time, had a lot of healing, got in a relationship, and we were talking with one another, and he pulled out his cell phone, and all this anxiety just flooded me because in my past relationship, the cell phone was the center of unfaithfulness and just a lot of terrible things. And so he had never demonstrated to me any of that behavior, but the cell phone was a symbol of that.
Yeah.
And so you have options, right? Like, what do you do with that? Do you handle that with toxicity and react off of that anxiety and that trauma, or do you take it to the Lord in prayer? And I remember we left, and I was already projecting like, wow, that's so rude. I can't believe it. What is he doing? What's more important than me? What's blah, 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 blah. All these things. And I remember going up to my dorm. I was in Bible college, and I literally asked the Lord, I was like, why does this bother me so much? Why do I feel this way? What is the matter?
Right.
And I remember taking that journey with the Lord
That's it.
to evaluate, oh, that's why.
Mhm.
And I can tell the story now in hindsight, right? Like, oh, the cell phone was the center of my trauma back. But that's what came from
Yeah.
me going to the Lord about it. I got the understanding. I got a level of healing from it. And that's how you get it, right? But you have to go to the Lord with it.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's one thing that I can think off the top of my head.
So I am here. I am sitting in this chair because of a breakup. It was one of the most cataclysmic events of my life. And so I share this a lot in counseling. I share this story all the time, never publicly. First time.
All right. Here we go.
I'll share.
All of the students at the college are like, let's.
I'll share. They've all heard it in the counseling room, but I've never shared it publicly, and I won't like elaborate.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Right.
the Spark Notes version of it. We were around the table the other day in the student center, and we all started to share our how I came to CLC story, and it was all I didn't want to come here, but God just confirmed over and over again.
Yeah,
and
right.
they all had these beautiful and then the money came in last
Yeah.
second.
Right.
And then an angel came down with Sister Gresham's signature on it, Sister Gresham appeared to me in a vision, They had these epic stories, and then they came to me, Pastor Morgan. How did you end up at Christian Life College? I said, I came to CLC for a girl. And they go, what? The story is, I grew up, my stepfather was in Vietnam, and because of some injuries he sustained in the war, he received a full military pension, and part of that was funding for college. So I had funding to go to like any college I wanted as long as I got accepted. Not like Ivy League, but UOP level colleges. I could go and they would pay for it. And so I was thinking, well, I'm going to go big. I was going to go to Duke University. And then I got in this talking relationship with someone when I was like a junior in high school. And it was so innocent, so pure. She was very, very spiritual. And at that time, I never said I lived a double, I never say I backslid, but because of my home dynamics, my mom lived for God, my dad didn't. So I lived this like the prince and the pauper, like I lived this double life, but it was because I was exploring myself and my own convictions.
Absolutely.
And there were some not great years for sure. You helped me with this. I used to say I backslid, but I think you said one time, like it wasn't like wrestling with your faith isn't necessarily backsliding. And so I was in that wrestling period. And so, but I really got interested in this girl, and she was like the most spiritual girl of all time. And I raised my standard. Yeah. I used to text y'all, like if you were born in the last 20 years, none of this is going to make sense to you. But I used to ghetto text. Like all of my O's were zeros. All of my S's were Z's.
Did you do the like uppercase, lowercase thing?
Uppercase, lowercase.
Numbers.
That's when T9 was around.
Oh my
I used to T9 and it was good. We grew up in Stockton. There was I hung around, friends that were in the hip hop culture and
hilarious.
it just this white guy,
Stuck.
I used to wear baggy pants,
That's so funny.
Oh, I did. It was so cringe, right? But she didn't like ghetto texting.
Yeah.
So I started using commas and semicolons.
Okay, semicolons. All right, teenagers.
I stepped it up. I stepped it up big time.
Oh,
and I really, gained, traction with her, and I really fell in love with her. And I remember we were on the phone one time, and she said, what are you going to do after you graduate high school? I'm a senior now. And I said, oh, I'm going to go to UOP. I wanted to stay local now because I liked her and I wanted to stay local. And on the other line, she goes, oh. And I'm like, oh no, wrong answer. I mean,
Bible college.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wait. The next week, we're on the phone again. Hey, I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to go to Bible college for 1 year. And she goes, oh, great. And I'm like, score, Well, not long after the relationship ended, we never dated. And it was so innocent. Like, it really was innocent. Right. And, we were never official. It was just we liked each other kind of a deal. And because her parents have some objections, I won't get into all the weeds of it. But I was like, you know what? I'm just still going to go to Bible college. And I did. And I loved it. And I'm here. And I met my wife like in the first we started talking in the first couple of weeks, really. And second semester got serious. And no freshman dating, but, we got serious. Actually, fun story. Her mentor, Bud, actually told her, like, no freshman dating. He was really strict. So we didn't talk the whole second semester after he said that. Wow. And then the day after school ended, my wife and I became official. Nice. And so we it was graduation day. We told each other we loved each other.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. And so, it's a cool story. But there's a story, and I've used this a lot to help counsel young people because they pray, Lord, bless this relationship. If it's not your will, hinder me from getting in this relationship, kind of a deal. And I want to unpack that a little bit later too, because I do think people abort a relationship that is right because they confuse emotional trepidation with the voice of God.
That's right.
Yes.
And that happens a lot where you're dating somebody for 3 years 4 years, 2 years, everything is going perfectly, swimmingly. But because you have that emotional trepidation of, oh, I wonder what else is out there, you mistake that as the voice of God. Well,
Mhm.
God said no. And I think we have to draw like a fine line. But back to my original point, there's a story about Samson that he desired a Philistine woman. But this is before Delilah. And the narrative kind of unfolds, and he goes and tells his parents. He says, hey, I want you to go get me this daughter of the Philistines. And Manoah, his father, says, like he's appalled. Like,
Yeah.
is there not daughters of Israel like that you could marry? This is a shameful thing. And then the writer of Judges like inserts kind of like a parentheses, a parenthetical statement. And he says, but he did not know that this thing was from the Lord, that God sought an occasion against the Philistines. Now, if we rewind all the way back to the law of Moses, we know that God would not violate his own word. And in his word, the Bible says that God did not desire his people to intermarry with pagan nations. So it was not God's will that Samson marry this Philistine woman, because that would have broken his word. But the fact that Samson had a crush on her positioned him to be in the middle of the Philistines. And then he ends up, this leads to the whole jawbone of the donkey and the killing and all of that he would have not otherwise been positioned in if he didn't have this crush. And so God will use love because it's a very powerful motivator. It's like nitrous oxide to get up and get right. And so sometimes, and obviously Samson didn't completely get right, but I think there's enough of a spiritual principle and precedent is that God will allow you to develop crushes on people where you say, Lord, if this is not your will, take it away. Well, sometimes there's this complicated middle ground to where it positions you to be in a place of brokenness where you needed to be broken because there were things inside of you that the Lord wanted to heal.
That's right.
Yeah.
That only a relationship could reveal.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I don't know, did the Lord cause all the mistakes and the breakup? All I know is that God is sovereign and he can use unorthodox methods to bring about a perfect situation.
Yes. And I second that. I think that he uses natural things in life to unfold his desires and will and development in our
and if
lives.
I can say, like, from that breakup, I was invested. It like hurt. And so when you talk about run to the presence of God, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I was always inconsistent with my prayer life. That's when I got a prayer life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean,
I showed up every day.
Yeah. Much like you, I'm here because of a breakup. I had a 5-year relationship with an individual back at home, and that drove me into the ground. And prior to that, I didn't know how to pray. I was raised in church, didn't know how to pray, didn't know how to read my word, barely spoke in tongues, only at youth camp type thing. I had zero relationship with God. Like you, I didn't backslide, but I was living my double life because my mom had a very legalistic father. So she never made us do standards at school. She absolutely reverenced the house of God, but not at school or in life. Like I wore pants my whole life. So everything that I discovered of God was because of that breakup. Because like you said, I ran to his presence because I just couldn't even recognize myself anymore. Talk about no value or self-esteem issues. And when you're a teenager, it's like multifold, like it's times 1,000. When you're a young adult, you kind of been through some things already, and you should be already refining yourself, for marriage and maturity. But I was like 15 when I entered that relationship and 19 when it ended or so, or 20. So it was very prime time developmental age. So yeah, I had to find my worth and value when I got out of that relationship. So the breakup really is what fueled me to learn the voice of God for my life, get a prayer life, right? Who is God and what does he want from me? Like I need to be established on something. And because of the faith of my mother and all she had been through, I knew, and maybe this in the testimony I shared earlier can inspire some young people. I knew that God was faithful by looking at my mother's situation. Yeah. If he can heal her from all of that, he can heal me from this too. Yeah. It's not necessarily because she taught me how or anything. It's just her life was always a landmark for me to know if a woman can get through that much pain, I can get through this pain. And so I started my own journey because of the breakup.
Yeah. And the reason love is such a powerful motivator is because it taps into like a fundamental instinct.
Yeah.
Like the metaphor that comes to my mind is like if you're in the wilderness and you're hungry and you see a buffalo and you don't have anything, like you need to eat or you're going to die.
Right.
So you're going to get a stick and you're going to sharpen it
You're gonna
because
figure it out.
you're going to figure it out
Yeah.
because you need to eat
Yeah.
or you're going to die.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Well, love taps into that same level of desire
Exactly.
as Brother Josh was hitting on at the beginning, to where like when you start to love something, things that you need to work on, it almost hits like overdrive mode.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't have worked on. Like if you weren't hungry, you're not sharpening the stick.
Yeah.
It's the hunger that drives you to sharpen
Yeah.
the stick. So in the young adult phase, like this love gene kicks on and you need to be selective. Like, and we've talked about this really thoroughly in the last 2 podcasts about how to choose a qualifiable mate. So I don't think we need to unpack that.
Right.
You're obviously not just throwing your love out in the ether and just like Russian roulette. You're just gonna so you know, you can reference the other podcasts, but the point is, like, if you do fall in love or you do find yourself attracted to somebody and you're developing deep emotions and you've taken necessary healthy steps, well, then if you break it off and it gets broken off, it's like that sensation of feeling pain or feeling hungry, where you'll go to great lengths to appease that feeling. You can do it in a toxic way, to where you run to other relationships or you run to substances that are going to numb it, or you can do it the correct way, run to God, work on yourself, work on what you can work on, and you can actually become so much better because those feelings tap into it. It's like right at the core of your being.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, we've been talking for a little while, but just to wrap things up, because on the one hand, we talked about how to pursue bettering yourself in a healthy way. But at the same time, I think if you are going through a breakup, if you're going through heartbreak, if you're going through rejection, you also have to keep your eyes open for signs on the road that you are moving forward in a toxic way. And some of those things show up in specific actions. You know, I've seen people who are going through heartbreak, they end up dressing differently, right? They end up dressing more either provocatively or over overextending themselves, or how can I say it? They're overcompensating for the lack of value what they feel. All of a sudden, they're dressing more sharply. They're ironing their clothes, showing up pristine. And they are overreacting, desperately trying to invest their life with value from a carnal way, in a carnal way. And I think ultimately that ends up with individuals becoming very impulsive and very susceptible to big mistakes, even sinful mistakes that otherwise they would not be engaged in. And it's because they are trying to fill the void, the pain, the emptiness through means that are not they're not healthy. They're not healthy. And so you have to become aware. Why am I doing what I'm doing? You know,
I think that also ties into young ladies, and this
Yes.
is a topic that Pastor Morgan and I touch on a lot together to address in our demographic that we work with here. But if you have an issue understanding why wearing tight clothes is an issue, you have a fundamental problem there. Like if you push back on that, like, well, I'm covered, you know, but I mean your whole body, we can see the contour of your whole body, and you can't see how that's an issue. There's a bigger, deeper thing that you have to explore. And I feel like those are even those are small signs of a young woman trying to get that value, trying to get that attention, because attention equals value, attention equals worth. If I can get a young man's attention, that means I'm worth his attention.
Yep.
So I'm going to adorn myself with this type of clothing because getting his attention now validates how I dress, and it validates that I'm worth something because
Right.
I can get somebody's attention. And of course, again, this is all subconscious, right? But when you do a certain thing and you have a certain behavior and it gets you what you're looking for, it gives you that dopamine kick or that
Yeah.
oxytocin kick, you're going to keep doing that thing to the
Right.
point where you're now validated in doing it, and
Yep.
it's not really a big deal.
Yep.
But it's a huge deal,
Yep.
and you've just paved a way for a very unhealthy
That's right.
coping mechanism
Yep.
that is so ingrained in your mind and in your logic and in your justice system within yourself that now even when godly men and women are trying to correct you in love, or friends or that circle is trying to correct you in love, you are so staunch on it's not that big of a deal because you've already gotten so much validation, and in that case from yourself and from doing this behavior. And in that case is where I say you have to take that journey with the Lord. And if you're doing that and there's that pride in your heart and you're protecting this behavior, then the Lord is going to actively resist you.
Yep.
And that's a bigger issue.
Yep.
And so you have to look out for those signs. If there's something in your life that you feel, and people are constantly giving you Bible, not just their opinion, but biblical principle and scripture for another way, and you are actively always resisting it, red flag for you. Red flag for you to like stop and really get honest with yourself and evaluate yourself.
Why am I doing what I am doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. In the name of healing, or in the name of wanting to find relief from the pain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
minimize the pain.
Yeah, minimize the pain.
But some of that transformation is healthy, right? Like we were saying, like let's say you were sloppy, let's say you
Yep,
were smelly or
okay.
stinky or wrinkled, and now you're showing up for yourself.
Right.
If you're doing that because you're
Respecting yourself,
valuing
right.
yourself now, that's not a
Acceptable.
problem.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Self-betterment.
Right.
Yeah.
Self-betterment.
And there's, I guess my closing thought is, I'm going to say something theological. I'll try not to be prideful when I say it, though. So, there's this worldview that dominates a lot of Western thought called hedonism. This idea that pleasure is the ultimate pursuit of life.
Right.
And hedonism has been debunked in every generation, and it
Mhm.
always comes back up
Yep.
because it hits to our carnal nature. Is that I'm going to pursue pleasure at all cost. Well, the reason it gets debunked is because when you pursue pleasure at all costs, you don't end up finding it.
Yeah.
And there's one scholar that said, in fact, Christianity is the ultimate form of hedonism. And I actually tend to agree. Because Christianity is willing to endure all the suffering and all the pain on this earth because it's going to lead to an eventual life in eternity
Right.
that is full of the joy of the Lord
Mhm.
and the pleasure of the Lord.
Right.
And so we're willing to endure pain now
Right.
because it's going to mean pleasure later.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's actually the only way to find
Yeah.
pleasure. And there's a saying I tell my Greek students, you can pay now and play later, or you can play now and pay later, but you're gonna pay
Right.
one way or another.
Right.
So, like trying to circumvent the pain of a relationship doesn't mean you actually circumvent the pain.
Yeah.
You just push it off.
Right.
That's right.
Because now you're gonna have to deal with it when you're talking to your children and you're blowing up and you don't know why.
Yes.
Or you're in a marriage and you don't trust them and you don't know why, because you didn't know how to deal with the pain back
Yeah.
then. You just covered over it. It's the taking too many painkillers, prescription painkillers.
Right.
Like it feels good for now, but you eventually
Doesn't deal with it.
could become addicted to them, or
Yeah.
they can fry your nerve sensors.
Yep.
It doesn't deal with the pain.
Yeah.
And so it's so easy to say, well, let me do this. Well, I'm going to put on tight clothing because I'm going to get the attention that I need. But then you're going to get the wrong type of attention. You're going to end up with somebody who values things about you that are not, the core of who
They're
you are.
superficial.
Thank you. It's superficial. And then that feels good on the front end.
Yeah.
But it's going to feel really bad on the back end.
Right.
And I'm not going to assume God can't redeem these things.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
They turn out well. I'm not going to say, well, he's going to commit adultery. It may or may not happen, but you're going to have to deal with the pain, and it might just be emotionally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so dealing with it now, pain is an opportunity for God to work on you. Pain's
Yeah.
always, my dad
Yeah.
always said, God doesn't waste pain.
Right.
He
Yes.
doesn't waste pain at all.
Yeah.
If you're going through pain and you give it to the Lord,
Yeah.
he will
Absolutely.
turn it into something good.
Yes, he
That's
will.
right.
But trying to avoid the pain, you don't actually avoid it. You just push it off for
Yeah,
later.
and
That's
I want to challenge young people. I know we're talking about breakups, but I would like to challenge them to put this into practice for every type of pain that they feel.
Yes.
The rejection of a
absolutely.
parent, you
Yeah.
know, or
the loss of a job.
anything.
Anything. This doesn't just apply to breakups.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It just like you said, why breakups and love is focused on is because it pushes to the surface what's
Yes.
already there
Yes.
and what can be applied to any
Yes.
area.
But
of
I will
life.
say, since this is a young adult podcast, the most common type of pain young adults feel
Mhm.
is breakup pain.
Yes.
That's it.
This is
true.
common.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is common.
That's right.
Obviously, children and affecting in psychology, but like this happens to probably 80% of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. And unfortunately, if you don't get it right, if you end up choosing the path of impulsive joy seeking or pain mitigating minimizing behavior that's not pointed towards God, unfortunately, I think you could end up getting into vicious cycles that will keep you actually from true closure, healthy closure. And unfortunately, I've seen people be not ready emotionally when they should have been for relationships that should have happened. But because they were stuck in cycles of pain, cycles of never actually dealing with disappointments, they couldn't see when there was a young man or a young woman right in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're right there. And, and I'm like, if only this person would give that person a chance. We all see it. There's going to be fireworks. They're probably going to marry each other. They seem so right, but yet one or both is caught up in unresolved pain. They can't see past the past. They can't see through the past. It's still in front of them. If you really want the will of God for your life, deal with the pain now. Give it to God now and let him heal you so that you can be ready for his will for your life, because it's coming. You're going to find someone, and I need to speak this hope because sometimes people need to hear this.
Yes.
They need to hear this from somebody else's lips. You will find someone who is going to value you. You will find a man or a woman of God that loves God and will know how to love you. And you will experience an amazing marriage, an amazing family. You're going to get it. You're going to find it. Just keep staying in the will of God. Keep yourself connected in your relationship with God and let God take you through the journey of healing. You're going to get there and you will find love.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. You
Yeah.
will find it. So
Yeah.